All right, let's call to order the regular meeting of the City Council for San Ramon, January 24th, 2023. Madam Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Perkins,
Here.
Councilmember Rubio,
Here.
Councilmember Feroz,
Here.
Vice Mayor Armstrong,
Here.
and Mayor Hudson is not with us this evening.
All right, if everyone would please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance, I'd like to ask Gary to come down and lead us in the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thank you, Gary. One of our local residents, I appreciate you taking the time to do that. We'll move on to announcements. Do we have any changes to tonight's agenda?
There are no changes.
Okay, move on to item 3.2. If you wish to speak under public comment or regarding an agenda item, please fill out the speaker card located in the back of the room and submit it to the city clerk. If you're participating remotely, click the raise your hand button on your computer or *9 on your telephone to request to speak when public comment is being taken on the agenda item. Board, committee, and commission meetings. A complete list of upcoming meetings may be found on the city's website at www.sanramon.ca.gov. Subscription service is available at the link for automatic meeting notification. Contact the city clerk with questions at 925-973-2539. Item 4, public comment. At this time, public comment is permitted. The public's permitted to address the city council on items that are on the consent calendar, including a request to pull an item from the consent calendar and the reasons why you wish to pull the item or items. Please note that the decision to remove the item from the consent calendar is strictly at the discretion of the city council. You may speak on requests for future agenda items or comment on special presentation items under item section 6 of tonight's agenda, or on any items that are not on the agenda and are within the city council's jurisdiction. Public comment is now open. If you wish to speak under public comment or regarding an item on the agenda, please fill out the speaker card in the back of the room, submit it to the city clerk. And if you're participating remotely, use the raise your hand button on your computer or *9 on your telephone to request to speak when public comment is being taken. Do we have any written comments this evening?
We have not received any written comments.
Okay. At this time, let's take any speaker cards that we have.
We've received 6 speaker cards. The first one is Connie Haggerty.
Okay, Connie.
Good evening. My name is Connie Haggerty, and I live in Sunny Glen Senior Community. I'm here tonight with my neighbors, some of them back here. And I live in a small condo. On December 31st at 3 p.m., I got up to go out my front door and I looked out my window and my patio was a swimming pool. There was water as far as I could see. And in no time, the water came gushing under my door. It started rising rapidly. In about 15 minutes, it was up below my knees. At 80 years of age this year, I didn't foresee losing appliances, furniture, having my home gutted down to the studs, my car flooded and totaled. And now I have a dilemma. Should I leave or should I stay? Last Saturday, over 100 of us from Sunny Glen met at the senior center, and we heard the president of our board tell us that the flooding will happen again and again and again. So my dilemma, if I sell, who would want to buy my condo knowing that there was a flood in 2003, 20 years later, a flood in 2022, the last day of December, and floods are going to continue to happen. I need to be able to tell future owners of my property or people who are interested in buying it that there will be improvements made to help stop the flooding. If I stay, I worry that I'm going to wake up in the middle of the night, some night, and that flood water will have creeped into my condo without me knowing it. I'm going to put my feet on the floor to go to the bathroom and have water up to my knees that's dirty, muddy, brown, and contaminated, and it'll be throughout my condo. And I can tell you, I will be trapped in my bedroom and I won't have any idea what to do. And I think about that a lot. Thank you.
Thank you, Connie.
Hi, good evening. My name is Elisa, and you just met my mom, who, as she stated, will be 80 this year, and she owns one of the 16 units in Sunny Glen that was completely submerged in 2 feet of water on New Year's Eve, which also happened to be my 50th birthday. This destroyed her home along with her car, she said. 6 years ago, I chose this unit for my mom to buy with an understanding that the city of San Ramon made considerable improvements to the neighborhood's drainage system in the aftermath of the 2003 flood. And I believe these improvements would have helped the flood of 2003. But here we are 20 years later with an entirely different new normal, and 100-year disasters happen with regularity. So the improvements of 2003 were not enough to hold up against 5.5 inches of rainfall in 24 hours. And they won't be enough in the future. This flood, as my mom stated, will happen again and again and again, putting this entire community of senior citizens at risk. On New Year's Eve, all of the access at Burcrest Lane to the neighborhood's 229 units was blocked at Al Costa, trapping hundreds of residents in their homes until the lock on the emergency gate at Stagecoach Road was cut by a resident. What happened on New Year's Eve was devastating to many, but dangerous to all. I want to thank the city of San Ramon for making improvements after the last flood and ask, really plead with you that you do the same this time. It is the right thing to do. What those improvements will look like or how they'll be funded is a discussion for the future, but I believe there is a way to make the Sunny Glen community a much more flood resilient place, thereby protecting an entire neighborhood of senior citizens proud to call San Ramon their home. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa.
Sarah Lashenlu.
Hello, council and wonderful city staff. Council members, you have the great honor of serving as elected public servants. And that means that you are trusted by the electorate to represent them. But how can you represent them if you do not know them and their problems? Vice Mayor Armstrong, last year we were competitors for a seat on that dais, but today and forward, you are my representative. And as such, I want to give you all the tools that I acquired during my campaign to help you all and San Ramon thrive. On the campaign trail, I was stunned and inspired by our neighbors' stories and their visions and values for our community's future. 41% of the voters in District 2 voted for a walkable, bikeable San Ramon, a San Ramon with increased frequency and reliability of bus transit, a San Ramon with a climate-conscious agenda and safe, weatherized infrastructure, a San Ramon with a refreshed Iron Horse Trail, and most importantly, they voted for a candidate that was open to new innovative ideas and would be present, going the extra mile to engage them all every day. That candidate didn't win, but those things can still happen. You can go that extra mile and engage the disengaged by knocking on their doors and being present at HOA board meetings, even when it's not election season. You can inform the uninformed by meeting them where they are. And the uninformed is not in this room. They're not in your email inbox. Seldom are they at town halls or community engagements. They're home, they're busy, they're workers, they're parents. They don't have cell phones or email addresses. Maybe they're non-voters. Maybe they're students, maybe they're renters, but they live here. We can all find some inspiration in the honorable former council member, Sabina Zuffer, who exhibited that extra mile by turning her term on council into not just a part-time commitment, but a lifestyle. So thank you for your time. Let's have an amazing year. And remember that when we, the residents of San Ramon, are here to help you craft a beautiful future. When you need ideas, input, or inspiration, look no further than the 90,000 people who call San Ramon home. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah.
Kathy Hyde.
Thank you for listening to me tonight. I'm one of the Sunny Glen residents. I was affected by the flood. I've only been there since 2021, and so I'm the new and younger one there. However, it was quite shocking to see the water rise as high as it did and as fast as it did. My main concern is to get all the seniors out, especially ones in walkers and canes. I do not use any of those, but there were people there that did. The firemen and the police department of San Ramon were wonderful. They acted very fast and speedily to get us out in safety. My concern is now we're trying to put our homes back together again. We know that I was told there's 2 to 4 weeks before we can get building permits. Some of us need just sheetrock and insulation and that put up. I'm not sure how extent other people's homes are, but that's pretty extent over there. And I'm just asking you for help and maybe where we can expedite some of the seniors that were so affected by this flood, because we have them in hotels and they're running out of money to even stay in hotels. I know we had one gentleman who had a heart attack. It was a mild heart attack. He's doing well right now, but they're in a hotel. They have no family up here to house them. I myself do, but a lot of people don't. There's also a resident that we know that's leaving this Saturday has to move down to her son's house until her house gets fixed. So I'm just asking you tonight out of kind heart to maybe expedite, if we can, us that were affected at Sunny Glen. Thank you for taking your time.
Thank you, Kathy.
Walker Tippett.
My grandfather recently gave me a book called Blue Latitudes about the voyages of James Cook, the 18th century British sailor. His was the second European ship to reach the island of Tahiti, where his crew encountered some natives whose religion involved very disturbing rituals. Whenever their ceremonies resulted in an unintended pregnancy, they would simply smother the child. In the Bible, we learn all about Israel's neighbors whose priests sacrificed infants on the altars of pagan gods. Israel eventually joined in. We read these accounts in our modern era and love to tell ourselves we are more civilized, more enlightened. Surely we are a better society than the Canaanites or the Polynesians of the 1700s, right? In America, at least until the overturning of Roe, we kill as many as 3,000 babies every day via abortion. In the case of the Planned Parenthood at the bottom of Crow Canyon, they can mass distribute poison pills which enable the recipient to kill her child without ever having to see its face and limbs or hear its first cries. The abortion industry in America has made murder more convenient and far less costly. So I submit to you, we are no better than the Canaanites or any other brutal group in history. We are simply less patient. History has rightly judged ancient cultures like the Canaanites and the Tahitians to be violent and ruthless. In our day, we classify more recent groups like the Nazis and the Taliban as equally, if not more wicked, due to their hatred and their blatant disregard for human life, and rightfully so. My question to you is, centuries from now, how will history judge us? But far more important than this theoretical judgment from future men, there is a divine judgment fast approaching for each and every one of us. Not from sinful men, but from a God who sees the mind and the heart. Jeremiah 20:12. Now, this God is well aware of our indifference towards the murder of the unborn and is just to repay such apathy. And we cannot save ourselves from such a judgment because all have sinned and fall short of his glory. Romans 3:23. Our proud and deceitful hearts will continue to sin no matter what personal improvements we may achieve and no matter what legal reforms we may pursue in these chambers. But Christ can rescue you from this pending judgment because he has paid the infinite debt for our sin at the cross. And we need to consider his view of children. Let the little children come to me and do not hinder them, for the kingdom of heaven belongs to such as these, Matthew 19:14. We all just stood together and faced the flag and acknowledged together that America resides under God in our pledge. If you fear this God, if you serve this God, you will view children as precious, just like he does. And you will therefore see the urgent need to outlaw abortion in our city. Thank you.
Thank you, Walker.
Arthur Martinez.
Hello, I'll be addressing the topic of the Sunny Glen community flood. I was actually present when the flood occurred on December 16th, 2002. My mother was living there at the time. She's now since deceased. But I have to say, the work that was undertaken by the city after that situation worked as planned. That flood lasted for almost a day and a half, so 36 hours approximately. This flood rose up and subsided in a matter of 6 hours. So the drainage worked. The issue is that the drainage receptacle is not capable of handling the volume that we're going to probably encounter on a more regular basis. So I'm asking that the city council can move forward as proposed by others to consider working on further mitigation plans and analysis to ensure the safety of the senior community that resides there. Furthermore, this particular flood was different in that it also impacted the folks across the street from the San Ramon public golf. I don't think it's a public golf course anymore, but on Fircrest aside from the golf course, and that was a net new situation. Speaking once again to the fact that the process worked until the creek bed was no longer capable of handling the volume. The water backed up, back towards the golf course. Golf course did what it was supposed to do, absorbed a lot of excess water. Eventually couldn't do anymore, overtopped Costa Boulevard. And as the flood maps suggest, it ran down Fircrest as a parallel path to the creek as the creek was full. So I request that the San Ramon Council consider assisting people that have been impacted. Fortunately myself, I wasn't impacted directly, but my tenants' entire lives were turned upside down. And I feel very badly for them because it's very difficult to have something like that happen so fast and have all your personal belongings damaged, and then to basically flee your home in a matter of minutes. I would like to request that the council consider us putting for further review on future council meetings or set up a committee to address further mitigation work. Also coordinate with the city of Dublin. There's a wall, as you may have seen the news coverage, that may have created additional issues that might be resolved by coming up with another solution, maybe cyclone fence. I know we're not here to discuss solutions, but also it sits on we have the situation that it's 2 counties as well. And we have the federal government that manages the creek. So it's going to take some effort, but the city's done it in the past. And the work that was done worked as planned. I think we have an opportunity to do the same thing and show that San Ramon cares about its citizens, responds to the situation, and mitigates further problems. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Martinez. Okay, do we have any more comments?
There are no more speaker cards, but we do have one hand raised on Zoom.
Okay.
Call in user 2.
Okay, call in user 2, you're on.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, first of all, I would like the council to please schedule for a DD-GAD meeting. We haven't met for over 6 months. I would like to be briefed on our financial report and on our current financial reserve, please. Secondly, I want to respond to Council Armstrong's candidate who just spoke. I really resent her coming here to pitch a campaign speech already after the election. I'm not in your district, so I'm not speaking because I voted for you and I didn't vote for her. No, I speak because I am tired of her trying to screw my quality of life by asking you guys to turn this city that was pitched to me as a beautiful, serene, open space with wide, car feasible roads. That is no longer the case. Right now, my local Safeway is strewn with scooters everywhere. The other day, the kids were walking against traffic lights on 50-mile-per-hour Bollinger Canyon, and the motorists have less than 2 seconds to stop. And if they do stop, we could possibly have a sequential accident that can involve multiple motorists, because motorists behind certain cars who can witness those kids who are walking against the traffic light may not see them at the same time. Why is it that, it's okay for her to come and change my lifestyle like this? We pay a ton of taxes, and she wants you guys to basically use our money and give it away to people who don't need to register, who have no insurance, who basically in her own speech may not even exist. They're phantoms, because all she says is they exist. But by whose standards and by whose perception? Hers. She said there are 41% people like her. Well, 41% is not majority. There is 59% of the people who also live here. So please don't, think that this city belongs to you alone. There are a lot of people, and the city is the way it is because a lot of people pay their dues. I do have a comment from my observation regarding the Glen senior community. I was around the senior community back in November, soon after Thanksgiving. I noticed that area had a uncommon amount of leaves that were built up around the sidewalks that were basically rotting. And those leaf mud, I suspect, must have fallen into the drainage. So it's like your intestine. Once you have something rotting like vegetables, that could cause major clogs. So I really would like the city to please review your maintenance schedule. And if there were any change of contractors, I hate to sound like I'm a conspiracy, theorist, but it sounds like there are people who really want these white seniors to move so they can build more affordable housing for those people of the 41% who don't maybe are registered or exist. So I really think that this is more.
Thank you for your comment. Appreciate that. And just for all of our commenters this evening, just a reminder, while we encourage your comments, Unfortunately, state law prevents the city council from discussing items that are not on the meeting agenda. We do take them very seriously, however, and if appropriate, staff will follow up. So public comment is closed. At this time, we will move to item 5, the consent calendar. And does any of the council members wish to pull any of the items? Okay. Do we have a motion? We do. Hoover Perkins, second Barros. Marisol, did you vote? Got it? Okay. All right, motion to approve all of the consent items on the consent calendar. So at this time, we will move on to special presentations. And we have a proclamation declaring January as National Human Trafficking Prevention Month. I will present that proclamation to the Contra Costa Human Trafficking Task Force. And I understand we have Captain Brinkley and Senior Inspector Liu here this evening from the Contra Costa Human Trafficking Task Force. So here's the proclamation. Proclamation of the City Council of the City of San Ramon declaring January 2023 as Human Trafficking Prevention Month. Whereas human trafficking is a form of interpersonal violence in which force, fraud, or coercion is used to control victims for the purpose of commercial, sexual, and labor exploitation, and occurs in many industries affecting individuals of all genders, ages, and backgrounds. And whereas human trafficking is a lucrative and fast-growing criminal industry, which relies upon exploitive and sometimes violent tactics to target vulnerable members of our communities. And whereas the crime of human trafficking violates an individual's privacy, dignity, security, and humanity due to the systematic use of physical, emotional, sexual, psychological, and economic exploitation, control, and abuse. And whereas the impact of human trafficking is wide-ranging, affecting foreign nationals as well as U.S. citizens and a society as a whole. And though awareness and concern around this industry has grown in recent years, human trafficking is consistently underreported. And whereas in 2020, 16,658 human trafficking victims were identified nationwide through reports to the National Human Trafficking Resource Center, and California led all other states in reported human trafficking cases, accounting for nearly 13% of all such reported cases. And whereas the county's Alliance to End Abuse convened the Contra Costa Human Trafficking Coalition with the aim of strengthening the county's comprehensive response to human trafficking, initiated by county departments, law enforcement agencies, and numerous community-based organizations. And whereas the Contra Costa Human Trafficking Task Force, jointly led by Community Violence Solutions and the District Attorney's Office, strives to proactively identify and provide services to survivors, investigate and prosecute all forms of human trafficking, and build capacity within the task force and the communities it serves to respond to and prevent human trafficking using a collaborative approach involving more than 35 multidisciplinary partners. And whereas in Contra Costa County from April 2019 through December 2021, 108 cases of sex and labor trafficking were investigated. 207 suspected victims of human trafficking were identified, and the district attorney filed 42 human trafficking cases through the collaborative efforts of partners to the Contra Costa Human Trafficking Task Force. And whereas the Contra Costa County is working to raise awareness about human trafficking with the belief that a more informed public will better understand how behaviors can contribute to a patriarchal culture that facilitates and tolerates the systemic abuse of vulnerable populations and will take actions to counter and prevent human trafficking. Whereas during this month, we recognize the survivors of trafficking and commit to building a future in which no person is denied their inherent human rights of freedom and dignity. Let us make it known that human trafficking has no place in this city, this county, this nation, or this world. Now therefore, be it resolved that the City Council of the City of San Ramon does hereby proclaim January 2023 as Human Trafficking Prevention Month and urges all residents to actively participate in the efforts to both raise awareness of and prevent all forms of human trafficking. That was a mouthful, but thank you for hearing that out. Let me bring down the proclamation for you, and then we'll open up the floor to you.
Okay, thank you.
So if you got the camera there.
Yeah.
Ricky, you want to hit it, jump in here?
I will.
Certainly. Thank you. You are invited to make some comments.
Thank you. Good evening, City Council members. My name is Arno Louie. I am the labor trafficking investigator for the Contra Costa Human Trafficking Task Force and a senior inspector with the Contra Costa County District Attorney's Office. It is a pleasure to be before you tonight to recognize January as Human Trafficking Prevention Month in the city of San Ramon. Human Trafficking Prevention Month is a time to raise awareness and to revivify our efforts to prevent and respond to human trafficking in all its form. Human trafficking is a use of force, fraud, coercion, and other means to control victims for the purpose of commercial, sexual, and labor exploitation. We know that human trafficking, whether sex or labor trafficking, takes place in all the communities that make up Contra Costa County. And in human trafficking happens across many industries, affecting individuals of all genders, ages, and backgrounds. Human trafficking is not a victimless crime. The trauma and the consequences associated with HT reverberating across families, communities, and generations. HT thrives on vulnerabilities and effective HT prevention, HT human trafficking, of course, prevention requires both raising awareness to these vulnerabilities and taking concrete action to eliminate or minimize their impact wherever we can. The task force led by the District Attorney's Office and Community Violence Solution brings together in close collaboration over 30 governmental, community-based, and law enforcement partners from federal, state, and local levels to prevent and respond to human trafficking throughout the county. The city of San Ramon, through its police department, has become a strong partner in the work to combat human trafficking. Over the past year, the task force and its partners have worked hand in hand with San Ramon Police Department to investigate and close a number of illicit massage businesses and to bring services to the women being trafficked in these establishments. In the coming year, we look forward to continuing our collaboration with your police department and identifying new ways that we could work with your city to address human trafficking. Thank you for this proclamation and the city's partnership in combating human trafficking. Just in closing, just a side note, we really like working with San Ramon Police Department. They're a great department. Thank you.
Well, we agree. Thank you, Inspector Lou.
Good evening. I'll just add a couple of things here. In the year 2022, our department collaborated with Contra Costa County Human Trafficking Task Force to conduct 4 sting operations on massage parlors within the jurisdictions of the city of San Ramon. During the course of the 4 operations, 2 female employees did disclose that they were victims of a larger human trafficking scheme. Each of these victims were offered victim services and support advocates that were attached to the task force at the time. The San Ramon Police Department would like to thank the Contra Costa County Human Trafficking Task Force for the hard work and dedication. Without our ongoing partnership, these cases, along with the cases from the past, would not have been handled successfully. San Ramon PD is committed to combat human trafficking and will assist the Human Trafficking Task Force anytime possible. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Captain Brinkley. I'd invite, before you go, invite the council. Anyone have any comments?
Well, we really appreciate, I'm sorry. I really appreciate the fact that the county has a task force to work on these because our efforts alone aren't going to solve the problem here. They may solve a small part of the problem here in San Ramon, but working with the county in a larger sense is a great benefit to all of us. And I want to thank you and Captain Brinkley on your future retirement. I want to thank you for your service to the city.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Okay, Mary?
So first and foremost, I just wanted to thank the DA's office, County DA's office for bringing this important topic forward to light, really, within our communities. These are the kind of things that happen behind closed doors and we don't see very often. And thank you, Officer Brinkley, for elucidating that, how it can actually, we exist within communities like ours sometimes. So, and I also want to thank our staff who made sure to process that for us so that we could bring it here in time for the month of January. So thank you to both of you.
Councilmember Burrows.
Thank you, Arnold, and Contra Costa County Human Traffic Force. So, and also our San Ramon Police Department involving this sting operations and making sure that we are declaring a zero tolerance. As you mentioned, we need to make sure this whole trafficking issue need to be bring the awareness within the community through the education, outreach, and partnering with the right partners. Like, for example, here you have San Ramon Police Department and also many other nonprofit organizations that we have. I really appreciate all the work that you're doing and helping these vulnerable victims and providing support, making sure they're taken care while they need most. Once again, thank you very much for all your work. Appreciate it.
And thank you, Senior Inspector Liu, Captain Brinkley, for bringing this to our attention. This awareness is really important. Some of the stats that were in that proclamation are unbelievable. Thank you for the efforts of the PD and the sting operations, and for the efforts of the task force for all that you do for the county. And Councilmember Perkins said it. It's a task force type thing. This is not individual efforts and things like that. It takes a whole body of people to get out there and really make sure there is no place for that in our city, in our county, in our nation, or anywhere. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, at this time, there's no council action is required on that item. So we're going to move on to item 6.2. This is the presentation of the Outstanding Teen Citizenship Award to Fatima Hussein. And we'll have Jennifer Galt come up and give us an introduction and the presentation.
Good evening, council members. Thank you for having us here this evening. My name is Jennifer Galt with the Parks and Community Services Department, and I'm excited to be here because I get to introduce the Outstanding Teen Citizenship Award to you. And then I'll get to turn it over to our Teen Council Vice Chair, who's going to actually present the award to the winner. So each year, the Teen Council gets to select a teen citizen who's made a significant contribution towards enhancing the quality of life in San Ramon here for the residents. The Outstanding Teen Citizenship Award was created in 2012, and the Teen Council has been able to continue awarding that annually. The Teen Council is very appreciative this year. They had 2 sponsors for their award. They had Realty One Group Today and Patelco, which was exciting. And they also were able to present the Teen Citizen of the Year at the Chamber of Commerce dinner back in December. They did receive 13 applications this year. And with that, I will turn it over to Sadhna, who is our Teen Council Vice Chair.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Sadhna, and I'm the Vice Chair of the Teen Council this year. The Teen Council has selected Fatima Hussein as the Outstanding Teen Citizen of the Year. Fatima is a junior at Doherty Valley High School, and she has a passion for connecting with community members and creating STEM programs for middle and high school students. As the Director of Education for the Doherty Valley High School Robotics Club, she teaches, inspires, and encourages novice students to become future leaders of the robotics team. She works hard to ensure the robotics team is an inclusive environment and strives to reduce the gender divide stigma around robotics.
With her efforts this year, almost half of the applicants for the program were female. Fatima's passion extends beyond her club at school. She also taught middle and high school students STEM topics as a program director with the STEAM Foundation, where students took a 10-week class learning concepts for iOS development. At the end of the program, students were able to successfully create 2 apps. The skills she gained through the STEAM Foundation, she created her own boot camp, Fatima's iOS Development Bootcamp. This 4-week summer boot camp taught students in San Ramon the skills to develop their own fun and personalized app. Additionally, students who are having trouble with their math at school can stop by her YouTube channel, 2-Minute Maths, where Fatima uploads a quick new video every week, walking students through different challenging math concepts. In addition to mentoring the future leaders of San Ramon, Fatima volunteers her time through community at events including the Run for Education and the Organization of Pakistani Entrepreneurs. Fatima has dedicated numerous hours of her time to helping the residents of San Ramon and making a positive impact on this community. The Teen Council would like to take this opportunity to thank you, Fatima, for all of your dedication and hard work.
Let me come down there too. Congratulations.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Would you like to say something?
Sure, I can say a few things. First of all, thank you so much for this award. I've given like very similar speeches in the past for the same award, but first wanted to extend my gratitude to everybody on this committee as well as the residents. I really appreciate being recognized for my volunteering efforts, and being given this award just gives me more motivation to continue positively impacting my community, both specifically in like working in STEM programs and helping the youth kind of reach their dreams of becoming an entrepreneur or just reaching their academic goals. So I just want to keep this short and sweet. So thank you so much, everybody, for this amazing award. Have a good night.
Thank you. Any council members?
Obviously, we could all take a few lessons from Fatima on STEM topics, but I want to thank you for all the hard work you're putting in to help our middle school and high school students with a multitude of problems. Thank you.
Thank you.
I just want to thank you for your leadership and for really being a mentor for future generations. You are paving a path for them, and thank you for having the courage to step forward and take that on. We appreciate you.
Thank you so much.
iOS boot camp. Wow. I would definitely like to sign up for that. So thank you very much for all your service for our students. I have 2 young kids. I know you all are very busy with your studies, extracurricular activities and all that, but on top of it, doing something for community really need a lot of passion. So I can see that definitely. And congratulations for a well-deserved award. And especially the concept of STEM with equity, that's definitely we need in our community. And that's why our San Ramon is special place to live and best place to live. Thank you.
Thank you. I love San Ramon. Thank you.
Thank you, Fatima, and just really appreciate all that you do. You're just an example of some of the great teens that we have in the city of San Ramon, and I've had the privilege of being able to sit in on some of the teen council meetings for the last couple of years, and I'm just amazed every time I attend one of those meetings at just the amount of activities they're involved in, just they're so well spoken and they're so interested in the different programs and services that are offered up to the teens. So thank you very much. Thank you, Sadhana. Thank you, Jennifer, for all that you all do also with the council. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. We have there's no council action required on that either. So we'll move on to deferred consent items. We have none. So we will move on to items 8 and 9, city council appointments, unfinished business, none of that. So we'll move to new business. So we've heard from seniors during public comment. We've heard from teens, and now we're back to seniors. So let's go with the Senior Citizen Advisory Committee Annual Report and introduction by Steve Cox.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Armstrong, fellow council members, and members of the public for having me here tonight. My name is Steve Cox. I am the staff advisor to the Senior Citizens Advisory Committee. It is my pleasure to introduce Colette Clark, who is the current chair of the Senior Citizens Advisory Committee, who will be presenting the annual report.
Thank you, Colette.
Good evening, Vice Mayor Armstrong, council people, and city staff, and all the attendees. The Senior Center is an essential part of the city of San Ramon. It includes all people who are 55 plus, which is a big percentage of people who live in this city. And by having the Senior Center, we're all very appreciative of what we have. And we're striving to regrow our population at the Senior Center because of the pandemic. We really dropped. And this week, Steve tells me that we've been phenomenally back to where we almost were. So that's what I wanted to say before we start this report. I want to thank all of our wonderful paid staff at the Senior Center. Without them, the Senior Center wouldn't be the friendly and inviting place it is. Senior Advisory Committee members are me, Joan Ernst, Richard Adler, Susan Chen, Wayne Mortensen, Paran Lin, Velda V. Chick, and Sandra March. There are 6 points which are a driving force for the SAC. These points are to provide recommendations to the staff and the commission and the city council on programs for seniors and the San Ramon Center policies, to be a channel of communication between the staff, the Senior Center participants, and the senior community, to appoint appropriate committees as necessary to further the work of the center's programs and the efforts of the committee. We aren't having any of those this year, though. Number 4 is to receive input from the senior community involving current and future needs, advocate for senior issues within the entire community, and act as a liaison for senior issues to governmental and private organizations. And the final is to identify problems of service and recommend appropriate solutions. Our accomplishments and actions this year: the Senior Advisory Committee, the Senior Advisory received an update on the need to create a revised needs assessment for the senior business plan on June 7th, 2021. We distributed it through the Encore newsletter, which is our monthly, we're going to be doing it 4 times every fourth month now, through the newsletters, through the emails, social media, 55 webpage, and distributing it in the center itself and we went to local assisted living facilities. We had over 400 senior needs assessment surveys collected, and the information is coming in a future date in the business plan, which is probably a couple months from now. Our accomplishments and actions, there are quite a few. We review and provide feedback to staff on the senior advisory and on the updated senior plan. We have established ad hoc committees to review the data, and we did that. And there were 3 members on that committee, and we think we kind of collected it, and it'll look good in the report. Accomplishments and actions: provide input on options to repurpose the current South Community Gardens in order to better provide for the San Ramon senior population. We had a special meeting September 2022, and we walked through the South Community Gardens. If you're familiar with them, they're at the Senior Center in the back area. And we found we we walked through them, we discussed what we think should be changed to make it more usable for seniors. And that's being considered by the staff at this time. Accomplishments and actions have our senior advisory committee members volunteer at the volunteer desk a minimum of twice a year for 2 hours in order to increase knowledge and understanding of the needs of the users. The committee established those dates and they did it. They found the desk is our entrance. It's the important place for our first hello, and it gives a perspective to the amount of people who come and visit the center. There are quite a few, and they're not all seniors. We also visited local assisted living facilities to better understand their needs and how the Acosta Senior and Community Center can provide complementary services to enrich the lives of these people, of their residents. We each took a different community and we each went to them or spoke to them on the telephone, depending on when we were trying to accomplish this. We saw the senior population. We asked how we could complementary work with them. And that's going to be presented at our February 6th meeting. It's going to be an oral presentation from the different visits. We also met with other Tri-Valley Senior Advisory Committee representatives in order to share ideas and best practices. Some of us went out to the different communities and visited them. We established a timeline, and that it too is going to be presented in February. We found visitations with other senior committees, provided an opportunity for current San Ramon Senior Advisory members to learn about the other agencies' purposes and their roles within the senior services. And these visits made us more aware how essential it is to have a supported and active senior center. It makes us grateful for what we have here in San Ramon. Our center is really beautiful, and some of them are not nearly as good. So all of our members attend as liaisons, different groups. Some people do 2 of them, some people do 1. We go to the City Council and Parks and Community Service Commission, the Planning Commission, Transportation Committee, Advisory Committee, the Teen Council, the Library Advisory Committee, the Housing Advisory Committee, the Senior Foundation, and the Senior Outreach Committees. The art's not in there, but we will be adding that next year. The goals and objectives we've set for 2022, 2023. Number 1, collaborate with staff regarding best practices to highlight and celebrate the significance of seniors in San Ramon during the National Senior Center Month in September. The resource fair appears to be a good match to this goal, and so it's kind of brothered to that one. Number 2, research and suggest new modern variations of events and programs for the aging population, including newly retired and working individuals 55 plus. We also identify and suggest activities. We work with staff, and they're very supportive of our ideas. When somebody comes in and says, I work and I can't come to the senior center because you close at 5, the staff is working with them to figure out ways we can continue to meet all people's needs. Number 3, conduct an annual goal setting workshop where previous committee goals are reviewed and new goals are recommended in preparation for this committee's annual report. Number 4, work with staff to develop a new member orientation for senior advisory committee members, which includes a tour of the Acosta Senior and Community Center Parks and Gardens. We're continuing with goal 5 and 6 from last year. We're going to visit local assisted living facilities to better understand their needs and how the Acosta Senior and Community Center can provide complementary services to enrich the lives of these residents. And number 6, meet with other Tri-Valley Senior Advisory Committee representatives in order to share ideas and best practices. We're now only seeing people coming back to the center. So these goals and our open communication with the staff and seniors are even more important than ever. We thank you for offering so much support to our 55 plus community. Without the city of San Ramon, the senior center would not exist. Are there any questions or comments?
All right, thank you, Colette. And let me open it up to council for any clarifying questions or comments about the presentation.
I'm really grateful that the attendance is growing back again. I'm not surprised. We've had such great programs there in the past that it would certainly attract the residents to come back. But I thank you for the work you're doing and the goal setting and the survey. Those will play a great role in what the future is out there. So thank you very much for that.
Okay. Councilmember Rubio.
Well, thank you first and foremost for a very thorough, and thoughtful process, evidently. You know, I would love to continue to learn as the newest member here. Certainly would love to take a moment aside at some point and just chat with your advisory committee or someone, a representative of your committee, to get a more robust understanding of some of the things you're working on and see how we can support you in that process. Thank you so much.
Looking forward to it.
Thank you, Chair Clark, for sharing the presentation and also sharing for your goals and objectives. I think you are your committee is in the right direction, especially your idea of adding arts committee into your senior. That will be fantastic. I think that will help us. And regarding some of the senior requirements that I get from our community, especially because I get every quarterly, I attend one of Doughty Valley senior groups. So some of the list that I noted down. So if it helps, then maybe we should pursue some of this. So, or all of this actually. So passive gyms, that's one request I got. And also additional seating in the parks, especially the community parks. That's what they are looking for. And another thing is transportation for 8 to 11. So especially morning, if they want to visit our San Ramon Community Center, the big challenge is transportation, accessibility to the transportation. I know, or if I remember right, we did have a ride-share program.
We have a community van.
Right? And also, we do have a ride-share program, voucher program, right, Steve?
Yeah, we offer the Go San Ramon program, which is discounted ride sharing program for some of our residents, and it's geocached to San Ramon and is there to help offset some of the areas where transportation might be harder to find. That's in addition to the Senior Express van that we do offer to and from our center.
Okay, so is this only specific geographical region, or is everyone in San Ramon seniors can avail that?
It is an area for the Go San Ramon area that is geocached to certain specific areas. It's primarily around the San Ramon Valley Boulevard. It goes from the Valley Vista area up to the senior center. So I know though they are looking at that area and coverage of that Go San Ramon program.
Okay, so we need to figure out if we can extend that to all other seniors in the community so that they can utilize that. Transportation to our community center will be much easier for them. So,
and our Senior Express van does go to anywhere in the city of San Ramon city limits.
And how much do we charge for that? Like, do we charge any?
We only charge them $3.
$3 per ride.
$3 per ride. Okay. Sounds good.
City
And yeah, and also one more thing is not just about the visiting to the senior community center, but the challenge that they have is if they want to go to blood donation or any testing or hospital regular routine checkups and all that, that's where they're having challenges with transportation access. I think that's where it can be helpful with this rideshare program extending for them also. So that's one thing. And also, yeah, so they even mentioned about some inflation about relief, but that's already shared with our assembly member. And what else? Yeah, those are the major ones. And just to remind me again about this passive gym, do we already have passive gym in our senior community center or parks, any park in ours?
Passive usage of
passive gym for seniors.
I'm not really sure what that means.
Yeah, I'd have to.
I think Kathy knows about it.
Yeah.
We do have a passive gym, or they call it outdoor gym. both at Critter Crossroads and in one of our other linear parks, which name just left me. But so we do right now have one in the park, one coming for sure at Critter Crossroads, and then we have one planned for the senior center as soon as funding is identified.
Excellent. Thank you. Once again, thanks all your works and staff. Thank you very much for all your great work for our seniors.
Okay, thank you. I have no clarifying questions, but I'd like to open up public comment on this item. Do we have any speaker cards for this?
There are no speaker cards. We do have one hand raised.
Okay, let's go ahead and take that speaker.
Call in user.
Go ahead, call in user.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, I'm calling user number 2, and I'm surprised that the council members who asked questions did not even ask any questions about all those seniors' comments, raised during public comment. I really would like you guys to please expedite those building permits that the seniors have asked you to expedite through the planning division today. I hope you guys will appoint someone to make sure it goes through, as requested. Otherwise, it will just fall into the vacuum. One of the council members is asking a bunch of questions that really don't help any seniors at all right now. I also would like you guys to please disclose if the senior center, being so close to the affected flooded senior center, whether you experienced any flooding. I don't think so. Why is it that you didn't experience any flooding, but these community homes did? And also, if that's the case, how can we possibly use that building that the seniors are already paying, to possibly help them during those kind of emergency situations? And my heart goes out to those people who are, spending their retirement money at the hotel. How can we help them? Those are realistic questions. You cannot use public comment as an excuse to not answer any questions and requests that they raise during public comment. I urge you guys, and I beg of you guys, to please appoint someone to study the possibility, whether we have CIP or any, reserves, emergency funds, to help these seniors. I mean, do we really want them to become homeless? Please do something. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Calling user 2. Do we have any other speakers?
No.
Okay, we'll close public comment on this item.
I would like to make one comment that the people that were flooded out of their homes in many cases were evacuated to the senior center because the elevation of the senior center is probably 20, 30 feet higher than the surrounding land. And so the police and fire did evacuate seniors flooded out of their residences. They took them to the senior center, which was, I thought, a fabulous idea, place to take them under the circumstances.
Thank you. Any other comments? I'll just add, thanks again, Colette, for your leadership as a chair for the Senior Advisory Committee, and just thanks for looking out for all the interests of our seniors. I would encourage everyone, if you haven't been over to the Senior Center, go take a look, see what's there. There's a lot of great programs going on, great drop-in activities, meals being served, just countless things that are happening over there, as we heard some of that in the report tonight. So please get over there and visit if you haven't been. And Steve, thank you for your leadership over there as well. I know New Year's Eve, I saw you, I guess it was Adam and who else was there? Brad, I think, was over at the senior center, and those residents were evacuated over there, and our senior center was taking care of their own senior center in that community. The Sunny Glen community was flooded out. So that whole area was a mess, as we heard this evening. And I think it would be good for staff to get back and address some of those comments that were made this evening. So interim city manager, Stephen, if you would take a look at that and maybe we can get some feedback to those residents. Already done. Thank you. Okay. No, again, no council action on this one. Thank you again, Colette and Steve. We're going to close public comment, close discussion, and we'll move on to item 10.2. This will be a public hearing number 1 for Trumark Townhomes, 2481 Deerwood Drive, general plan amendment, rezone, and mitigated negative declaration. So let's get with Lauren Barr here. And what do you got for us?
I have a brief PowerPoint presentation and then I will be available for questions. All right, as you mentioned, this is the Deerwood Townhomes project followed by Trumark Development. Oops, did I go too far? No. So
Trumark is the same developer that did the assisted living off of Al Costa, is that correct?
Assisted living
near the church and the hospital.
They were the original developer for the commercial office at the time, and then it was reprocessed as a care facility. But you're correct, they were involved. Trumark as a broader company.
Okay.
So the proposal that the applicant is pursuing is a 61 unit townhome development on a 4.4 acre property at 2481 Deerwood Drive. This is intended to replace an existing 51,000 square foot office building. The property actually is part of the housing element update. It is a housing opportunity site. This application is going slightly in advance of those approvals. And so in order to proceed with the development applications, we first need a general plan amendment to redesignate the land from office to multifamily high density and open space, and then rezoning of the property from administrative office to high density residential. And this, because it's a general plan amendment, it's subject to Measure G requirements, which is 3 hearings before the Planning Commission and the council with a supermajority, 4/5 majority required. We've completed the 3 hearings with the Planning Commission, and we're moving forward with this first hearing with the council tonight. So here's a site map showing the location of the property. As you can see, it's surrounded by residential to the northeast and west, and Crow Canyon Road and the creek to the south. So here's an aerial view. As you can see, the sloped hill on the southern area, that will be part of what's designated as open space. And then the residential portion will be up where the office building currently sits. So here's, for context, a copy of the proposed site plan that's working through the process with the Planning Commission. It's 10 buildings, 61 townhomes. They're 35 feet maximum height, 2-car garages, private roads, and then guest spots on site. There's also amenities such as a tot lot play area, viewing platform, and some other stormwater treatment and landscape areas. This is a rendering.
I didn't see any visitor parking. Is there visitor parking?
There is guest parking being provided.
Okay.
It's along the perimeter parallel as well as adjacent to the play area.
Got it. Thank you.
And here's a rendering of Deerwood Drive. This would be the look of the townhomes immediately on Deerwood. So this is the parcel configuration that we're moving forward with. It's 2.77 acres, which will be the residential component of the project. And then the lower 1.66 acres will be designated as open space. And I'd mentioned that there's also an existing drainage easement on that lower portion, so it's unbuildable as it currently exists. So here are the proposed changes. As I mentioned, it's office now. And then the breakdown of multifamily, multiple family, high density residential and open space. And that's at 14 to 30 units per acre. We are also going to be changing the zoning to match. So it goes from administrative office to high density residential, 22 to 30 units per acre. And then the lower portion will be open space 2. We prepared a mitigated negative declaration for the project, and that includes both the project approvals for the design and construction of the townhomes, as well as the rezoning and general plan amendment. And that was circulated for public review back in end of October through November 28th. And then there are mitigation measures proposed, and those will be part of conditions on a final project. So in terms of prior project review, this went to the Architectural Review Board twice. And then there were 3 hearings with the Planning Commission on June 7th, November 1st, and then their final meeting on December 6th, where they recommended City Council approval of the general plan amendment, rezone, and mitigated negative declaration. So at this point, we request that you receive the staff report, take public comment on the general plan amendment, rezone, and mitigated negative declaration, and then continue the hearing to February 14th for the second meeting under Measure G, and also introduction of the ordinance for the proposed rezoning. And with that, I'm available for questions, and then we have representatives from TrueMark here that can answer questions as well.
Okay. Clarifying questions, because this is really just about the general plan amendment and zoning and the mitigating negative declaration. This is not really discussion or about the actual project itself, which will be returned eventually back to the planning commission.
Correct. Once the legislative acts are done by the city council, it'll go back to planning commission for consideration of the actual design and architecture.
Okay, so the conditions of approval will happen at a future meeting and are not complete in any sense of the word.
Correct.
Okay.
So just to make sure, all the questions regarding the housing, that will be the follow-up future meetings, not in these
Well,
hearings.
Correct. Yeah, we are designating as the housing opportunity sites, but the conditions related to affordability and everything else will be part of the planning commission approvals and conditions.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Councilmember Rubio, any questions?
No, not at the moment. Thank you.
Okay,
I'll move, we open the public hearing.
okay. We have a motion to open the public hearing.
Oh, well, Sridhar beat me to it. There we go. And there we go. Okay.
Second by Councilmember Perkins. Okay, the public hearing is now open, and do we have any speaker cards for this item?
Yes, we have one speaker card from Kellen McPhee.
Okay. Kellen, was it? Yeah. Okay, please.
Good evening, Council. As you said, as we've just discussed, this is very preliminary. That's why I'm actually up here today. My name is Kellen McPhee. I sit on the HOA board of the community that is immediately east of this proposal, Cambria. I'm here today asking for the council's assistance to get support from the city of San Ramon and the developer. We have concerns about this project's impact on the stormwater, as the proposed, very early proposed plans have all the stormwater of this project being routed through our system through one of our outfalls. All right, we did bring this up in the planning committee. We really didn't receive any real feedback from the city of San Ramon. We then went through our management firm. They were able to get some contacts through the city of San Ramon and get a meeting with the developer on site. We did talk to the developer about our concerns and about what kind of analysis was done for the hydraulic analysis and the analysis of the existing outfall, whether it could handle the additional flow. I guess, pause. You will see when you see the actual designs, there are lots of great mitigations when it comes to water quality that there are putting into the site. But currently, half of that site that you saw drains to our property. The proposed plan that's being brought up to the council, the entire site is going to eventually drain to our property, and we have some serious concerns. At that meeting, TrueMark stated that it's their policy that they don't release that information to a third party like us, that we would have to go through the city. We approached the city, and the city has stated that they don't have any kind of analysis. They gave us the stormwater information, which is not, or the construction stormwater permits, which is how they were going to handle during the construction process. That's not what we're asking for. We're looking for what is the impact to our drainage system? More importantly, what analysis has been done for the discharge point? Because the discharge point currently is starting to show signs of erosion, and increased flow could speed up this erosion and cause a problem. Again, we're a really small community. We're only 3 board members, and I'm one of them coming up to talk to you. So we don't want to, the proposal that they have a great site coming on. It's more of just this one issue that we really want to make sure that we're ahead of. And when it comes to council for final vote, we're not holding up this process. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Colin. Any other speakers?
We have one hand raised, call in user 2.
Okay, call in user 2.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, my comment is about the general plan. I really would like the council members to please direct the planning commission as well as the legal department to please double check on all of your developments, whether it is sustainable or not. Our economy is faced with extremely heavy burden, and many companies are laying off. Specifically, the tech industry has laid off tens of thousands of people. Very soon, these kind of economic impact will hit us at the local level. The amount of affordable housing that you have already approved in the pipeline is not sustainable unless you guys have already sent out invitation to Martians to come and live here, which I am not aware of, but you can brief us if you did. These units are not going to sell. Nobody is going to live here, and don't expect the communist Chinese are going to come move here, because they are also suffering economic impact themselves. So I really would like you guys to please use logical rationale to do your part of why we elected you is not to comply and kowtow to Gavin Newsom in Sacramento. If they make bad decisions there, it is up to you to fight them for us and not to comply. Furthermore, please pay attention to the HOA the board of director who just spoke to you. I wish I have a board of director like him, who would actually, really fight for the community well-being. Where I am here, it is a joke. My board of directors actually help compromise my community so that our owners are able to be compromised property-wise easier by other people. It is really a shame these days to be an American citizen, less tax-paying residents. So please do your part and just review your general plan. If it's not feasible during a downturn economy, you need to please suspend certain projects and don't let them gut and flood the pipeline all at once, or we are going to have serious financial consequences. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any additional speakers?
No.
Okay.
I'll move we close public comment.
Okay. Mover Perkins. Second, Councilmember Rubio. Okay, public comment is closed. Do we have any final comments from any of the council members before we continue this?
A question about, is that office underutilized? I mean, is it essentially vacant or nearly vacant?
I'm not positive if it's actually vacant at this point, but it's definitely underutilized. Even the original concept was for like a server farm, so it was underutilized at the time as well when it was originally developed.
Okay, and seeing as how it's surrounded on 3 sides by housing, it seems to be a suitable infill project with little limited impact. I am sympathetic to the drainage issue, and I hope that the through the planning process that the drainage issue is somehow mitigated, because one parcel shouldn't drain into another adjacent private parcel.
I can speak to this briefly. There is a drainage easement, and the current property does drain across into part of the pipeline for the community next door. And the obligation for stormwater drainage is that they cannot exceed existing flow capacities under the stormwater control program. So there are detention basins that are being required as this part of this project. And we'll look more closely at it and make sure we have conditions in place to ensure that their interests are protected.
Okay, thank you.
So member Ross?
No, I got that. I was about to ask the same drain question, so thanks. And hope our city staff is available for any questions that HOA have any questions. So let's make sure we respond to them. Thank you.
We provided them the stormwater control plan, so.
Perfect. Thanks.
Okay. Councilmember Rubio.
Not a comment, but yeah, I mean, I think I would like to see a little bit more, sorry, I forgot the microphone. I would like to see a little bit more, maybe a mapping out of how that will be handled, the drainage issue, so that we can better understand how that will be managed going down the road.
That'll be handled in the next phase.
Okay, perfect.
Okay. I've got no further
Okay, now we
questions.
need a motion to, let's see, continue the hearing to February 14th. I move we continue the hearing to February 14th for the second meeting under Measure G and for the ordinance introduction on the proposed rezoning. Okay.
I second that.
Do we need a motion on that?
Excuse me, through the mayor. Yeah, I don't believe we need another motion to continue, as we're going to have a separate public hearing that has been separately noticed.
Okay.
Okay, never mind. Okay, so then, thank you, Lauren, for that. There will be a second public hearing on Tuesday, February 14th.
Correct. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, moving on to item 10.3, the long-awaited presentation of the evening, Chevron Park redevelopment. An introduction by Debbie Chamberlain.
I feel so short. Hello, how are you tonight? Good evening, Vice Mayor, members of the council. As we know, Chevron was recently sold to Sunset Development, and Sunset is in the very early stages of planning the redevelopment of the Chevron property. The Planning Commission had a presentation in December to receive the presentation you are getting tonight. And following tonight's presentation, the Planning Commission is conducting a public workshop next Tuesday at 6 o'clock in the Fountain Room. So residents will have the opportunity to review the new plans, speak with Sunset representatives, and share their comments with our Planning Commission members. And then we'll continue on our public outreach and working with Sunset to refine their vision. So with that, I will turn over to Alex Marin Jr. to give the presentation for tonight. I'm here to answer any questions at the end. Thank you.
Thank you, Debbie. Alex, you're up.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Armstrong and members of the City Council. I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you here tonight.
I really like this picture that shows all the developments that you've proposed in the past.
There's some virtual reality there too.
Yes, I understand. It looks great though.
Appreciate it. The problem is you spend time on stuff like this and then a day later it's different. So.
Yes.
Anyway, what I'm hoping to do tonight with the time you've generously granted us is to talk about what we're seeing across the three types of real estate where we're involved: office, retail, and residential. And summarize our thoughts about their roles in creating the best outcome for the future of what's quickly becoming downtown San Ramon, including the Chevron Park site. We're excited about all the recent progress we've seen at Bishop Ranch as we implement our joint vision. City Center hosted almost 4 million people last year with an 86-minute average duration of visit. The average visitor returned almost 5 times, meaning that while we have a regional draw, many of our community members are returning time and time again to enjoy new and different experiences. Quickly on the heels of your approvals, we're underway with the first of 5 City Walk neighborhoods. Under construction with a mix of luxury apartments with a highly notable developer, the Related Companies will deliver our region's highest quality apartment offering, as well as introducing the first affordable apartments to Bishop Branch. On that site south of Bollinger, we have the Belmont Senior Living Project underway, delivering what will again be a best-in-class offering. And lastly, the first of the City Walk parks will emerge between those two projects. Summerhill is well underway with their project, where underutilized and outdated office will be replaced with 404 new homes. We're tremendously excited for these projects to get completed and to meet our first new residents. As always, thank you for your commitment to the city and for your hard work on the macro to the micro. Our company and our family are in great debt to everyone who's committed great parts of their lives to the progression of San Ramon, past, present, and future. And as such, we approach these matters with great humility and respect. Recent years have brought many changes, but the vision you're hearing tonight is nothing new. It is what we've discussed in these forums for over a decade. Bishop Branch has long been morphing into something very different than it was in the 1980s and 1990s. It's true that the pandemic has changed many things, but most of them were changes that were already afoot and were only accelerated. This certainly applies to what we're doing. We've suffered from over a decade of urban mania. And finally, over the last several years, people have voted with their pocketbooks and decided that our offering in the San Ramon Valley is as compelling as we here always knew it was. And what we're building together makes that offering so much more exciting for future generations. What was once an office park surrounded by large lot subdivisions will unite into a true downtown. Our identity as a city, which has always been there, will become clear and identifiable. If you asked what San Ramon was in 1990, it would be a mix of great things, but it lacked a center, in the literal sense, but also in the emotional. It deserves a central place that belongs to all its residents as a point of pride where you can socialize, walk, shop, dine, and build connections. This is the vision we have all dreamed of, and it's coming to life as we speak. I feel honored to be a part of this downtown development because it is so unique. Across America, real estate developers have built many downtown projects. They come in many forms, but outside of urban cores, they are very commonly standalone attempts to manufacture something exciting and new and are built in a single generation. When you go to these places, they feel like they're part of an era, which is fine when that era is part of the current era. But as years go on, they're not as great. When we toured these projects with Renzo Piano and were discussing whether City Center should have a street bisecting it, he famously quoted that the streets in these projects go from nowhere to nowhere. We settled on the public square idea that day. In our case, we're not manufacturing something from nothing. We have 40 years of foundations that have been laid, one of the best suburban cities in America, with one of our country's best suburban business parks at its core. We're standing on the shoulders of all that work and is what will produce a place that is distinctive, authentic, and enduring. I'd like to speak for a moment about what we're seeing going on in the office market. We're, of course, in the midst of one of the most dramatic shifts in human history, and San Ramon is at the heart of that story. One of the most livable cities and a region that houses the nation's highest growth economy, and one that is technologically focused and thus much more prone to hybrid work. We do not shy from this reality. We must embrace it and continue to make our city one of the best places to grow a business. I said before that we are not reacting to a 3-year trend with this vision. It is a reaction to watching 20 years of changes in office use and consumer desires. In the 1980s and 90s, we leased office space at a density of 1 person per 200 or per 400 square feet of space. In the 2000s and 2010s, we've been leasing office space at 200 square feet per person at the max, at least doubling the capacity of Bishop Branch from a jobs perspective. This change was enabled by many things. Furniture changes, less private offices, the movement of file cabinets to the cloud. But more importantly, it was enabled by a shift in employee type in Bishop Branch. Technology allowed San Francisco-based companies to move Technology allowed San Francisco-based companies to move back office jobs further afield, out of state, where employees could live a better life than they could afford working in Bishop Branch. Our jobs went up in pay scale and knowledge work took the place of back office work. That came along with much more travel, hybrid flexibility, and a much lower daily attendance rate per person. Pre-pandemic, an office user in Bishop Branch would typically see 70% of their seats occupied on a daily basis, which is typical for projects of our type and similar workforce, similar companies. In addition, we became a much more locally serving office destination. Bishop Branch was once a value play for companies to have approximate back office to San Francisco. Today, it's a talent play. The onset of the pandemic has accelerated this, as you know, and we all know the pendulum has swung too far. Companies cannot be built into tomorrow's giants over video, and young folks will have to put up with interacting in the physical realm sometimes. While people are returning to the office and normalcy is slowly creeping back, at Sunset Development, we are not banking that the business of attracting today's Bay Area companies to San Ramon will revert back to how it was done in prior years. Huge full building leases will become far fewer, and top companies will locate here in smaller formats, looking for adjacent housing, amenities, and talent. We believe that today we have a good story to tell office users in the Bay Area, and that's a great thing, because vacant space is not productive for creating the city that we all want to have. The story is one of San Ramon being the perfect place for the live-work lifestyle, where everything one needs is within a close proximity, and where a growing population of Bay Area residents will find comfort and value on many fronts. We want to be that place that companies see as the perfect regional location to provide an office that employees want to be at. These changes have accelerated some realities we must face at Bishop Branch. Our older buildings from the 1980s are not going to lease into the San Ramon office market of the future. These businesses that have decided to grow in California want top quality buildings, a walkable environment, authentic places for employees to interact, and diverse housing options. Buildings like BR6 and the original Chevron Park did not age well. On the other hand, buildings like BR1 and 2600 have. We need to and are investing in those campuses that remain relevant to attract these new companies. And the other campuses need to quickly pivot to meet the adjacency requirements of today's tenants. If we're able to implement these plan changes and attract today's growing California companies, our jobs base will continue to surpass all-time highs with increased densities. These workers will live here. They will love working in these smaller offices. They will spend money and create sales tax in our retail, and many will love to live and work on-site in this new environment. These are some images of experiences we've been able to deliver so far that we want to see more of. Retail is the most difficult land use for a planner to solve for. Cities want great places for their citizens to gather and socialize, healthy neighborhood centers that reflect the quality of their communities, and a robust sales tax base, a difficult combination to achieve. When building places to gather and socialize, scale, location, and access are critical. We feel that City Center succeeded on these counts, and creating extensions of it on adjacent properties is central to our vision. These extensions should be complementary but distinct from the Renzo Piano design in their look, feel, and tenants, but they should serve the same purpose of creating community gathering areas and fill our need for more neighborhood retail serving daily and weekly needs in a place that isn't dominated by surface parking. Our opinion is that Bishop Branch is a place where the gathering places belong. Environments where people want to spend more time have to feel great, and a key element of that is structured parking. Surface parking does not allow walkability and a feel of being in a planned environment. People are willing to deal with the structure in these places because they're spending more time there. When it comes to the everyday service retail, we feel that more of this should not be sprinkled throughout Bishop Branch and San Ramon. Grocery stores are under pressure that will continue to grow. New homes and customers will help these existing centers make the decision to upgrade and reinvest. In these centers, customers demand surface parking for a quick visit and don't really care about walkability. They just want to get their groceries into their car and quickly carry on. The format of the existing sites works. While these practicalities of construction and building type seem mundane to guide city planning, they are the factors that determine if the zoning on an underutilized site results in a great project being brought to life, or alternatively, if years of stagnation progress. Different neighborhoods in Bishop Ranch have distinct characteristics, should have distinct characteristics and baskets of amenities to create a diverse group of places that become beloved by their constituents and add to a rich downtown fabric. Residents at the Summerhill site will own their homes and be able to walk for a quick coffee or lunch at the adjacent Bishop Farms restaurant at BR8, or make the 10-minute walk to City Center or Crow Canyon Commons. Those that choose to live in a Related's project will benefit from proximity to more amenities, but they will choose to live in an elevator-served environment. Those choices that our new community members will have, those are choices that our new communities will have, and they are good choices, and different ones than have historically been available in San Ramon. We would like to propose that Chevron Park house one extension of City Center in a mixed-use format of retail under apartments. A street would bisect two apartment projects and provide a new type of street retail that could be occupied by different tenants than you see at City Center. And we would try to design the street to feel like it was going from somewhere to somewhere. These are building typologies of vertical mixed-use projects that we see elements of being incorporated into the retail on the former Chevron Park. Here is a retail mix that could accompany that project. 50,000 feet of anchors, grocery, pharmacy, pet supply. At City Center, those anchors were Equinox in the lot. Food and beverage, 25,000, much lower percentage than City Center. 25,000 of retail that's more of the neighborhood serving type, and 25,000 feet of daily services that really serve a different need than City Center provides. These are images of lower density retail and a more flexible building type that we see occurring north of City Center on the southeast segment of 2600. We would also like to consider moving the hotel from the site across the street to this area where the parking garage is today on 2600. This is a snapshot of what the merchandising program could be on that parcel. Lastly, touching on housing. It is our view that delivering significant housing within Bishop Ranch in the next 10 years will be the engine that achieves several goals. It will provide a daytime population that will bring the vibrance and energy that we all want, which will make the additional retail development of the type described possible. It will enhance the identity of San Ramon by opening doors for people that prefer options other than what's available today in San Ramon. It will revitalize our existing stock of shopping centers, and it will allow us to attract the best companies in the Bay Area to join the San Ramon business community. Just stating those four things is so exciting: diversity, energy, and commerce. This will truly be a distinct place in California, and it isn't out of reach because we're not starting from scratch. This is a quick review of what's underway so far. And here are some photos of those projects. The upper left is Related as viewed from your new bridge. Upper right is a lobby that I find pretty outstanding for a senior center. Wouldn't expect to see something of that quality. Lower left is City Village by Summerhill, and lower right is the new park, flanked by both Belmont and Related. The next several slides show examples of the housing product types that we envision for DMU South. They are complementary to what we entitled in City Walk, but their variety will allow us to deliver them on a faster timeline versus the 25-year City Walk plan that focuses on just 5- and 7-story product. When the prospect of reacquiring the Chevron campus arose, we saw an opportunity to further the goals previously discussed for Bishop Ranch and the city of San Ramon. We understood how critical it was to approach the plan with a holistic view from a planning, civic, and placemaking perspective, and to be cognizant that this project needs to serve San Ramon as a whole. The key elements of the plan that we see are a mix of residential and retail, higher density development along Bollinger Canyon Road, inclusive of a concentrated retail commercial vertical mixed-use project, a variety of housing typologies and tenures scaled down to complement Inverness Park to the south, a large central park, pocket parks and pedestrian pathways throughout, including a linear park around the perimeter of the site that provides an extension to the walking district and a buffer to the existing homes to the south. We see a doubling in the size of the current city center, which is 290,000 feet, split between 170,000 feet on the area immediately north of city center and 120,000 feet in a street-type atmosphere under apartments at Chevron Park. During our presentation in December to the Planning Commission, a few points were emphasized as important, some of which I've already stated. A healthy landscape buffer between the project and Inverness Park, connections to the walking district, a provision of access between the neighborhood in Inverness Park and the new project, stepping down density with structures like those in City Walk along Bollinger to lower rise housing with 2 or 3 story buildings as the plan approaches the buffer, and the provision of vibrant place-based retail, but with a neighborhood serving focus as opposed to city center's more entertainment-based merchandising plan that garners a more regional draw. We've included a map of the entire Bishop Ranch zoning program, which we could use as a tool if there's any need for questions or discussion. We're excited to re-engage with the Planning Commission on this in the coming weeks and to get the community involved in as specific plans emerge. And we understand their desire is to include this in the general plan, which would be in line with our desires. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have, and thank you again for your time tonight.
Right, thank you. Let's go ahead and go with some questions. Great presentation. What
Are there any anticipated changes in the BR1 section that's just to the east of the DMU South?
So BR1 is definitely a project that we view as a keeper.
Mhm.
It's the last project that we built, and it's getting some modifications to its courtyard, the look and feel of the buildings from an office perspective. It's also adjacent to the projects, the related Belmont and the park.
Right.
So there's a parcel north of it, BR1B, that's slated for a medical office building. So sort of along the edge north to south, on the north side, the Chevron project would abut that new medical office building. As you move one step south, most of that's pretty close to the office building that's on that lot line. And then stepping just south of that, we're sort of trying to figure out the best next plan for the area just east of Chevron Park there, because it converts from what would be residential to parking lot.
Okay.
But there's a lot going on in BR1.
Okay. And I was really pleased to see that you're being sensitive to, and I want you to continue to be sensitive to the adjacent Inverness Park and buffering and making sure that we don't scale too big next to it and those kinds of things and the perimeter. That's real important that we continue to recognize that we need to minimize the impact that would be felt if you were living on Ascot Drive and staring at whatever's going to go up over there. That's very important. We want to make sure that we're sensitive to that. I like the general mix of what you've got. I don't know that I can quite envision exactly how you've got it planned, but you have a definite. How much office space will be part of this? I saw the retail and I saw the residential, but I don't quite understand the office component in here. Will there be office component in here?
We're not proposing any.
Okay, no office component. So you're trying to fill the vacant spots you have elsewhere, I guess, and in what, in 8 and places like in 15 and places like that. Okay, and 3. Okay, so this is strictly residential and commercial
Retail, yes.
and commercial retail. Okay. It'd be interesting to see how the mix and the vertically and horizontally you're gonna do that. I'll be very interested to see how that goes. Thank you.
Okay. Councilmember Rubio.
Thank you. Hi, so I'm just want to get a little bit of a description, sort of like what's the target community? If you could be a little more specific, like what type of retail you're thinking about. And then also, have you thought about maybe how you might integrate some fine arts, maybe music centers, locations in, very selective points to kind of bring, especially a little life into that area,
Yeah.
Go.
In terms of the target community, I think that the people that would live in a place like this are a lot of existing residents. I think one neat thing is I think people will step down from a large home, particularly if we can deliver some of these as condos, would step down and live in a higher density format that, it has an elevator, which is easier for some people, and it's easier to take care of lock and key. I think there's a lot of people in the area that don't view San Ramon as a place that they would ever look at, that would see this next to city center, potentially with a job, they would decide to move here. So we could start to attract people that never imagined living in the quote unquote suburbs, which obviously are changing with things like this. There's going to be a lot of affordable units. So that's the key part of all this. So as I said, Bishop Branch has become a locally serving office destination. Well, that's for people that make enough income to live close by. There's many people that that work here that can't afford, as you all know. And so I'm really excited about these apartments that will offer somebody, what could be a tremendous boost for them and their families. I think it's a pretty wide mix of different types of people that never thought that this would be available in a place like San Ramon. So we're excited about that. In terms of the retail mix, I think music would be great. Perhaps a live music venue would be better in the area just south of 2600 because there's not residential underneath it. Here, if you had loud music, people might not want to live in the apartments. I'd have to study that. Having some kind of music venue would be really cool. Some kind of nice, bars and things where nightlife can get extended past what it is at City Center. I think shops where you would have a daily use, maybe a nice butcher or something like that. You could go in and grab a steak that's not a huge supermarket, those specialty type stores and other daily use things like that. I think City Center's bent too far to special occasions, and we'd like to deliver something that has a more daily use offering.
Great, thank you.
Councilmember Brooks.
Thanks for presentation. It is always exciting and stimulating to see how our San Ramon is going to be in future, how it is the landscape keep changing and the new development coming up. So I'm very glad that you pretty much included most of our city council annual goals and also keeping in mind with the living work lifestyle. So just my feedback is clearly based on the guiding principles of our city council guidelines or the goals that we had for this last year annual goals, which is one important one is about balanced land use planning for housing, retail, jobs, open space, and develop walking district connectivity in and around the city hall. So let me elaborate each of them, how I would like to see at least my feedback on this. For the first element is about housing. Housing side, we definitely want to see more affordable housing for young families. Especially we want to see our current residents, kids can come back and live within the city. So that will be a great place, not only for the young families, but especially our San Ramon teachers, San Ramon Police Department, San Ramon city employees. If they can afford to live there, that will be fantastic place, because that not only solve our housing, but also it will help in a great way with mental health issues. It will help with our safety and security goal, because you bring families more close within the community. So if it means that we need to do more, I know it may brings the means of high density with the small footage of footprint of the unit. If it means, yeah, but we may need to go with that option. But definitely, I would like to see it should be more affordable for young families. That's on the housing side. And retail side, you guys already showed what you can do with the city center. Fantastic work, and I hope you continue with that. As you mentioned, right, the retail is not just about purchase anymore. It's more like a social networking places where people come and meet. And also we do a lot of cultural activities in city center, as you've seen. So definitely I would like to see that we make sure the ratio that we use for retail is utilized in that region, especially with the 680 corridor. I think that's very important for us, that we lost a lot of our 680 corridor for residential. So this is some of the piece that we have. So I would definitely like to see that on retail. And also that helps us to improve or secure our financial base. That's another goal, tie up with this whole retail thing. So that's again, it is part of our city council goal. And then coming to the jobs, obviously, once again, if we can bring retail, then we can bring jobs in the community. So that's also our city council goal. So if when you add this retail, that helps us. Not only the jobs, I think another important factor is driving miles for transportation. If we can have a living work lifestyle, that means we'll reduce the carbon footprint of because of the driving employees to their workplace. So that helps. So that's another thing that I really liked with your plan. And open space, definitely, you know, that San Ramon is one of the key characteristic feature for our San Ramon is a green belt area in and around our city. So, and also within the developments. So as Council Member Perkins mentioned, it will be great if you can consider the existing green belt area, which is next to the close to the southern San Ramon. So that we need to be definitely sensitive to our fellow residents who are already living there. So that will be one of the things that I would recommend. And walking district, as already mentioned, once again, that is also part of our city council annual goal. So walking district within around the city hall, as well as towards the Central Park, and connecting to your city center, all these places, that will be fantastic. And also, if you just yesterday I attended one TVTC meeting, which is a Tri-Valley Transportation. They are coming out with a lot of modular transportation. It's like mobile. So having a walking district will also help with our future transportation, so that our residents can navigate within this whole area, either by walking or by biking. That will bring a lot of vibrancy within the community, I think. So yeah, I think whatever that you presented, it looks pretty much in line with our city council annual goals. I'm looking forward to see more. Thank you.
Thank you.
I had one other quick,
go ahead. Quick question.
You mentioned the hotel that was going to be on the BR3 southernmost section. Is that did you mention that you were going to move it to another location instead? Did I miss something there?
We've looked at that. Yeah, we thought that if we moved it to this new retail concept in the, I don't know if the cursor shows up. It doesn't. No, the area that says 170K on it, for 170,000 feet in the sort of between the south wing and the east wing of 2600. We wanted to add, in addition to the park that's already planned there, add the retail component to make a consolidated gathering place there. That was the lower rise one. And we thought, given the adjacency to Roundhouse Conference Center and Market, the lake walking loop and city center, it would make sense to move the hotel onto that site also.
Okay, so
But
you
we're
move
sort
the
of-
hotel onto the BR 2600 northeast or southeast quadrant.
We're studying it right now. so.
Okay. And the remaining BR3 would be what?
Apartments.
Apartments, okay. Apartments in a park.
Yeah.
Okay.
All the neighborhoods have.
Their own park, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, you had another question?
One more
ahead.
question, sorry. Just wanted to get a sense of what are some of the considerations you have in mind to make sure that all of these facilities are accessible to people with different, with disabilities?
So the great thing about a brand new project is it's going to have the full suite of ADA improvements. And so, that's a great thing about City Center. It's, the other buildings we have to upgrade all the time. But when you build it fresh, it's got all the latest and greatest thinking on that. So it'll meet all those standards.
It'll be fully integrated so that they can have accessibility to these
Yes.
different points, right?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah, absolutely.
thank you.
Oh, I have one more point, sorry.
Question.
Regarding the
Question, a lot
climate
of time
action.
for comments later.
It's pretty much we are doing question and comments.
Okay.
So one more important thing I would like to definitely see in your plan is about climate action plan. How if you can share what is a carbon footprint that you are looking at this whole project. If you can share, that will be great.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay. First of all, thanks for coming with kind of a blank slate and kind of presenting to us what the potential is for the site and talking about housing and retail and affordable housing and that sort of thing. I had a couple of questions. One, and maybe these are more for Lauren or Debbie. Have we already designated this as DMU South in our general plan update? I know we've talked about that at a previous meeting, but I just want to make sure we're all on the same sheet of music in terms of jargon.
Not yet. So if you recall, the commission and council both heard an earlier presentation or an idea from staff about looking at a DMU South designation for this area. Currently, we are proceeding with the DMU North, which is where Toyota is, Summerhill Homes, anything in the North Community Remote Specific Plan area, because we are changing that general plan designation, repealing that plan as part of a housing element update. And then two others that are associated with that area, mixed use commercial residential emphasis and commercial mixed use commercial emphasis. So DMU South was sort of put to the side, just not knowing really what the vision for the property was going to be and who was going to have ownership of the property at the time. And the ownership question has been answered with Sunset acquiring the property and the vision you're seeing tonight for the first time. So while it's not a part of our housing element update currently, as you know, you'll be considering that tomorrow night, hopefully. We're almost done, fingers crossed. It's something that if the council and commission are willing to consider, we could include it as part of the general plan update, change general plan designation, develop those policies that would surround the future development of the DMU South, and then analyze it as an alternative as part of our environmental impact report that we are currently working on. So that would be feedback on that tonight would be great. But there was kind of a hard stop back in September until really more information was available. There's concern of it's a blank slate. We don't know what's going on. So, and then the workshop next week with the planning commission will take comments from tonight. They'll be refined down to probably a new iteration of this plan based on comments heard from both bodies. And so we're getting that process. Sunset is looking at a sorry, not to take words out of your mouth, Alexander, a community workshop at BR 2600, as we saw for City Center or the City Walk project too. So a lot of outreach is planned with the community too. But that's a great question. And I think if there's feedback from the council, I would love to hear it tonight.
Okay, all right. I think maybe I have another question for you also. The meeting next week, I think next Tuesday.
Tuesday, yes.
Has that been fully noticed to all the residents that are affected by this potential vision of the future?
Exactly. 329 notices were mailed.
Was that the entire Inverness Park community?
It went to
what kind of a radius are we talking about?
It's more than 300. Lauren, do you remember what the radius was? 2,000 feet.
3,000 feet?
2,000 feet.
2,000 feet. Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
so
thank you.
it gets to the majority of the Inverness Park, I think almost to Montevideo, is that correct? Or just short of Montevideo? Your Inverness Park, yeah.
Okay.
So the majority of the impacted residents.
Okay. Because I'm not sure how much the other meetings got noticed, but I was glad to see it's on our hot topics list on
Yes.
our website. I got a newsletter pushed to me. It had some information in there, but I know it's a big concern for residents in the Inverness Park area. And I think anything we can do to be transparent, involve them upfront in the discussion, and help to build that kind of co-development of this project with their input, I think will go a long way to building trust and getting us a project over time that I think that the community really wants. So I really think that's important, and I appreciate that. So,
We completely agree with that. And I'm sure Alexander can answer a few more questions about their outreach that they're considering too.
okay, I think that would be important. All right. Public comment. If there's no other questions, we'll open up public comment. Do we have any speaker cards?
We do. So Gary Chabin.
All right, Gary, you're up again. Thank you again for leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
So my name's Gary Chabin. Been here a while in San Ramon. I've watched it grow, and I appreciate what the city council has done. And I just, welcome, to everything that we do here. I mean, it's just a great city. Obviously, we stayed 43 years, so something's been happening. My concern, though, is as we develop, ingress egress in the city is just getting tighter and tighter and tighter. You can't add another on-ramp or off-ramp at Bollinger Canyon. You'll just back up more traffic. So my concern is that we do these projects, that we think about all of that, because even being retired, I can have a hard time getting out of town anytime during the day. So just a couple more things. I'm very concerned about height of these buildings and where they're going. We continue to just take away our ability to see a skyline from everywhere in San Ramon. It's been very enjoyable over the years to be able to see our hills, especially when they're green. And so I just concerned about, we're kind of in that area, we're just kind of impacting it to the point where there's no visual sign of the hills or anything anymore. So I get concerned with us taking away that valuable part of San Ramon that we've had. 6,000 square feet on average for retail seems awfully small. I'm not sure what all they're going to get in there. It says 170,000 square feet at 30 tenants. That's, to me, is fairly small. Having owned businesses in the past, it takes a lot more than that to make a business go. So, while I appreciate that we're going to get some retail and get some tax base, I mean, I think it's a great thing, because we definitely been losing some. As we build things like this, I look at Dublin, and they don't even fill their capacity down there that they're building. There's a lot of empty spaces down there in those new high rises. They've been building the units, and we're going to be putting all this in our properties here. Are we going to be able to fill those and make it work for us in San Ramon? As I heard that was talked about earlier. And I get concerned about the aesthetics of San Ramon. We don't seem to have a cohesive environment. It's almost like a circus out there. This and that and that and this, and we don't have an identity as a city. So what are we doing to give us some sort of an ownership? I mean, you have Pleasanton with a cowboy town, and Danville with a cowboy town. We could have been Rancho San Ramon. I mean, that's what we were. We could add a rancho look and maybe had some aesthetic that was, pleasing to everybody. Right now, I'm just getting very concerned about how we just haphazardly put something together just to get something built. So that's my comments. I appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Gary. Okay, other speakers.
Bill Clarkson.
All right. I've heard of him.
Vice Mayor Armstrong, Councilwoman Rubio, welcome to San Ramon City Council. I know you'll do a great job. So looking forward to your service. I came late because I was at a neighborhood meeting to discuss the project that was being built, proposed for the Chevron project. If you'd asked me yesterday where I would have been, it would not have been here because I didn't know about this presentation. So part of my thought tonight is to let you know the importance of notifying in all future projects that the council and it goes before the planning commission or the EDAC committee or the housing advisory committee, you need to make a deliberate effort to make sure that residents of all affected properties are notified in advance in a timely fashion. That's really, really important because it builds trust. And that's the most important asset that we have as a city is I think our residents trust us to do a great job. And we need to reinforce that and continue to do that. We did get the notice yesterday. Thank you. We got the notice about the upcoming meeting. That was very, very helpful. The meeting we had tonight was to talk about next week's meeting. And yet a lot of our conversation was the frustration that residents had about not being notified about meeting from December in tonight's meeting. Because I got to tell you, Bishop Ranch has a wonderful story to tell. They're doing a great job. I think the things they're trying to accomplish here in the city are fantastic. And it's too bad that more residents are not in attendance or don't watch this proceeding to hear the story of the things that both the city and Bishop Ranch and others are trying to accomplish. And I think you need to endeavor to the extent that you can, perhaps even encouraging Sunset to put together a YouTube of this program or this presentation and talk about this story, because I think when residents hear about the vision, they're going to get excited about the possibilities. Now, there's still a project to talk about, and there's still the details. And I appreciate Councilman Perkins' conversation about being very respectful for the residents of Beverly Park. I have a bias there because I live there, but they've had a wonderful relationship with Chevron over the years. At the meeting tonight, a number of the residents talked about a wonderful relationship they have already with Bishop Ranch at BR1 and how Bishop Ranch has gone above and beyond to give them lots of great amenities behind them and the trees and other things. So I think that relationship is built on trust, and we should make sure that we don't do anything to undermine the momentum we have here to create a great project. So thank you for the time. Our whole neighborhood is looking forward to coming to the presentation that the Planning Commission will have next week, near the end of my statement. And thank you for the time and have a wonderful evening. And keep up the good work. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Clarkson. Okay, any other speakers?
Call in user 2.
Okay, calling user 2, you're on.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, first of all, my congratulations to Sunset. This is a private community. I think you're very fortunate to be able to get this deal. And because it's a private community, I respect your rights to build. So all of my comments are from the perspective of future consumers and customers who will be spending on your private property. So I hope that will, sort of orient us. I'm not here to criticize nor to pretend like I'm an expert, just so that I can have a high quality of life because of you. So first of all, I'm going to be very straightforward. I don't want a ghetto nor asylum or a mental facility asylum. That's not what you are. You are a private ownership. You are here to make money, and I want you to make money. So in my opinion, I would like to see like a downtown Disney type of development that will allow transportation to be a more 3D, if you will, type of arrangement. Let me explain. At downtown Disney, customers park at one place and they're able to be transported by trams. If it's possible, I would like to see trams that can encompass from the present Chevron all the way to the Summer Hills property. I believe you guys have projects there as well. So then the workers who don't live here can easily go to Chevron property right now for any activities and come back. And people who are from Chevron property can also, easily access your other properties, such as the lot, without interfering with existing traffic on Bollinger Canyon. That is to try to separate as much of your property from interfering with the public and vice versa. And I think how we can plan that ahead can really help us to become good neighbors who will enjoy each other's, reciprocal neighborhood kind of existence. Also, I would like the city to explore issuing drone registration where we can make money as a city. And Sunset can use those drones to deliver lunches to their workers or other projects if they want to. And of course, all this technology stuff can be further vetted to make sure everything is safe and secure. And I really don't want to see any affordable housing. I would like to propose postpartum facility for new family, where it's a professional caretaking facility for young families who are working. So as soon as they have children, and we need a lot of children, the school district will tell you that the teachers need jobs. We need to produce children, American children. So if we can help parents.
Thank you for your comments. Appreciate that. Back over to council for any final comments. Or questions.
I did have a
Vice
question.
Chair Armstrong, I'm sorry, we have three other speakers.
We have another speaker.
We have three.
Public comment. Oh, great. Okay, let's take those.
Joyce Carr,
Good evening. My name is Joyce Carr. I'm a resident of San Ramon since 1986. First of all, I want to start by saying that the speaker before our past mayor, I really have the same concerns that he has. Before Mr. Clarkson, I really have all the concerns that he has. I would like to just propose tonight a historic element to the Bishop Branch Chevron Park project. And that it would be to preserve the brick building and tower that Chevron has. It's very nice and it's historic, and it would be something that people would connect with in years to come. I wanted to add that my 8-year-old grandson, Enzo Ryan Keller, has a special connection with that tower and the building. And I would just hope that you would consider preserving it and keeping the brick building with the tower. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Joyce. Next speaker, please.
Jim Blickenstaff.
Okay, Jim, go ahead.
Good evening, council. Jim Blickenstaff. Very quickly, I just want to make a couple of quick comments. I agree with Bill Clarkson vehemently on getting the residents engaged in the process. That is key to success, because if you don't have them engaged, it's often the case with other cities. They have their own ideas and the residents are kind of almost an afterthought. But here they need to be engaged with it to make it a real success and make the city something that everybody can be proud of. And in the process of engaging the citizens, there will be a bunch of ideas that are quite bright and useful to making this a better city. So I think it's essential to have them as part of the process and also give them ownership to the final product. I've seen in the past, even recent past, where the residents didn't have any ownership to it. It was put out as a done deal almost, and then they could comment and then thank you, now sit down. So if we really engage the residents, I think we'll end up with a more successful outcome and get this on a track that stays consistent with everybody's needs, especially residents, because they're the ones that live here. I wanted to mention on community serving retail and entertainment as compared to regional serving. Regional serving is very valuable. It draws people in. It's good for business, but also community serving retail centers are also critically important. We have something coming up right now about that the citizens are quite adamant about. And I think that aspect of overall benefit for the city is very useful. Pay attention to the residents and what they need, in addition to looking at a regional draw of customers from outside the area and in number of circumstances. I agree with Scott Perkins on the key necessity of a transitional zone between some of these high-rise dense areas. To me, they're too high and too dense, but we need a transitional zone and we need to buffer them and continue to have that context of San Ramon as a green, quiet area that draws people here as compared to other cities, which are a little more sterile, if I can use that word. So let's really enhance that and then buffer the high rise with vegetation and soft architecture. Some of your drawings were great about opportunities for those dense areas, but some of them kind of had a stark cold look to them, and you want to be very careful about architecture blended with the landscape that's going to make that an attractive component in addition to the residential kind of areas. So I think that's about, so I think I covered it. I didn't even realize that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jim. All right, do we have any other speakers?
Susan Ferris Intercom.
Okay, Susan. Go ahead, Susan.
I see it now. I'm sorry, I couldn't see the unmute or it hadn't popped up yet. I wanted to also piggyback on Gary Chabin's comments on the ingress and egress and height concerns. I agree with those. And then I also agree with Bill Clarkson and Jim Blicken's staff as far as communications. To that end, Mr. Armstrong, I'd like clarification on the meeting next week. There's a special city council meeting on the 31st, and there's also a special planning commission workshop. Is it the planning commission that this is going to come up again, or the city council?
Yeah, that would be a planning commission meeting for next week. I believe we're doing the EDAC interviews on the 31st for city council, but it'll be the planning commission. And you said it was at the room over at the community center, at the fountain room at the community center.
Great. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you. Is that it now?
Yes.
Okay, let's go back to, we'll close public comment. We'll go back to any council members for final
I had
comment.
a question for Mr. Marin. How does this, in your vision, if you get to set the schedule of all of these things, how does this fit in with the city walk projects around BR 2600 and Chevron Park and BR1? How did these things sequence?
The buildings of the type that were entitled in City Walk take about 30 months to build and 12 months to stabilize. And so once the first one from Related is completed, we imagine delivering another one on a 12-month rolling schedule from there forward. And there's several of them in City Walk. We'd like to mix the product types with this project. So you have some condos, affordable projects, the mixed use projects, so we can vary the product type. And then the for sale housing could be of a rental type. It could be townhome, small for sale homes, so that we can move quicker and deliver the homes on a more tight time frame. Because as you remember, City Walk is 25 years. That's also driven by the fact that some of the City Walk sites require structured parking to be built to take up the office parking. And right now we're sort of trying to think about in 10, 15 years, are you really going to need 4-to-1 parking in an office? And, so there's some cadence to that that's driven by the parking requirements also. So
you see this happening along a similar timescale, 20
Quicker.
years?
Quicker,
Oh, quicker.
yeah,
Okay, so 5 to 8 years kind of thing.
10 years, yeah.
10 years. Okay.
And
Oh.
perhaps some, if there were, pardon me, if there were some taller buildings in front, perhaps some of those would take longer, but we view the majority of the project being, 4, 3, 2 stories, not 7 stories, so.
Okay. That was
Okay, any other comments?
No, I'm pleased with the process we're going through now, that we're seeing it as it develops as opposed to a fully baked plan. I really appreciate the opportunity to watch it grow and develop.
Appreciate your time.
Okay, Councilmember Rubio.
So I just want to clarify, can I cover some of the things that happened, like teen council meeting, well, all of that now?
Not yet, we're still.
We're still on
finishing
this
up
item?
on This project.
Okay, then I'll wait.
On this
Yeah.
issue.
Okay, I'll wait.
You'll get a check in just a second.
Yep, thank
Anything
you.
else for Mr. Marin or staff? Okay. Sure.
Oh, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay. Well, again, I want to thank you for your vision, for just for having an open mind. Thank you for including our residents and just that mindfulness of keeping the community involved in this process as we go forward. So thank you for your presentation this evening.
Thank you for the large block of time. I appreciate it.
Yeah. And I look forward to kind of hearing some of the report outs from upcoming planning commission meetings. I think that's where the real rubber is going to meet the road and discuss, kind of see this shape up and kind of come to form over the next months or whatever the timeline is that it takes. So thank you.
Exciting.
Okay. And now there's no council action required on this. This was an informational presentation. Thank you to the staff and Sunset. We'll move on to interim city manager comments and city council comments.
All right. Thank you, Vice Mayor Armstrong. I do have 2 items for this evening. One, I wanted to note that staff developed a comprehensive information sheet regarding the storm event that we are just now distributing to the HOA and to residents. So we're getting some of the information out that was requested tonight to the residents, and we will be sure to follow up. And related to that, I wanted to note that the county has not yet qualified for individual assistance related to this storm event through Cal OES or FEMA. And they've put out a call to residents and businesses to assist them in qualifying the county for this assistance. They've created a damage assessment sheet for county residents and businesses that we ask anybody who's experienced any kind of loss, whether it's flooding, wind damage, tree damage, to go to our website under the What's New page. We have a Contra Costa County storm damage page that provides some general information and links to that sheet. Once they collect the information, hopefully they'll be able to qualify for individual assistance for residents through both FEMA and OES.
Are we being proactive in getting that information out to the residents of Sunny Glen? So each and every occupant down there knows how to input the information and potentially get help?
Yes, this is a full, every channel that we have available. We will be publishing this information and making sure that individual residents know about this one way or the other.
And for businesses, can we engage our Chamber of Commerce so that they can share this information?
Yes, we'll do that as well.
Thank you.
Okay. That's it. All right, thank you. And now we will go to council member comments. Councilmember Rubio, you were ready and willing. Let's.
I thought we were there at that point. My apologies. Just really quick clarification I want to consult with the city manager. Can I hold off on the committee suggestion? Or can I state that? Okay. I just want to make sure. Okay. So last week, Tuesday, we had a meeting, and our Vice Mayor Armstrong was with me in attendance for the Teen Council. And something that I've been quite involved with in other sectors is dealing with equity and inclusion. And the Teen Council was very receptive to some of the suggestions that were brought up, including some of the things that I was mentioning, is talking about accessibility in terms of as they're considering, bringing in a new cohort of young teens into their group. I mentioned making sure that their application process is more accessible both for people with disabilities and with perhaps potential language barriers. Other things I mentioned is that we need to create intentional space, make sure that we have representation from all of our students, regardless of how large or small within our schools, right? Everybody should have a voice at the table. But then we also, a young person in the meeting brought up something really interesting, was that, it's possible that because everything's by word of mouth from the very teen council, they're going to their friends. So it's a kind of, we're missing making some of that, again, that intentional effort to target the diversity of students that we really have, So I thought that was very promising, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how that all rolls out and how we see that the Teen Council really grow and evolve over time. And that also brought me to another idea that I think would be really wonderful is, I know we have the San Ramon Diversity Coalition, which works kind of in parallel with the City Council, but I really think it would be nice for us to consider possibly at some point having a committee on equity and inclusion that really works in conjunction on with all the various advisory committees we have, to make sure that we are always cognizant and culturally and just sense conscientious when it comes to issues of racial social justice, cultural and disability accessibility issues, just making sure we having those checkpoints in place every step of the way when we do things. So that's just something that came to mind and that I'd like to kind of see how we can go about that. Now, last week, Wednesday until Friday, I was at the new city council members and mayors training. So there was both a kind of a mix of mandated and recommended training sessions that we did for, I think the second day was almost 10 hours of training, which was obviously very informative. It's a lot of information, and after a while you start to feel like, oh wow, how I'm going to keep track of all of this, but it's certainly, I know, one day at a time. So I'm very grateful to have been there and picked up a lot of information and knowledge to better serve our city. Then after that, immediately went off to from Sacramento to Coachella to begin my training in the water education for Latino leaders. And we got to learn about the Salton Sea and about the issues with the water sea level rise, like it's dropping. And the problem with that is that there's more what they call playa, which is like sandy beach forming, but what's actually in that sand is actually very toxic chemicals like arsenic at high levels that had reached at one point all the way to Los Angeles, and so the concern is that if there's, we don't have better management of these things can spread across very far distances more and more with time. There was also some education on Polanco Parks, which is named after one of the person who started this residential area, but these are basically farm workers who provide our food at our table, very much so, who are very obviously living in destitute conditions and unfortunately living again with a very poor quality of water. They're relying on filters that aren't even functioning, with high levels of arsenic in their water, and losing their hair and experiencing a plethora of health conditions as a result. We also had some training on hydrology and how that works, the interconnectedness of our water system across the state of California. which was really, really always fascinating and interesting to learn. And hopefully what I would like to bring eventually here as we talk about how we're going to deal with the flooding, how we're going to deal with the drainage, and how, how can we better prepare for future droughts, capturing those stormwater, how is that a possibility, and what's the feasibility, looking at studies potentially in the future we can do, if that's something feasible for us. But that's pretty much it for now. I was busy.
Thank you. Councilmember Perkins.
Well, I spent the last week and a half at Antarctica, so I didn't attend any local meetings. I was it 7,000 miles away? So
Any penguins?
any penguins, only a couple of maybe 10,000 or so penguins.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Rose.
And on January 18th, I attended Arts Advisory Committee meeting. So one of the item is about renaming Doughty Station Community Center. So they came up with the name Doughty Station Community Arts Center, if I remember right. And that is going to come on to the table for City Parks Commission for the approval. So that's coming up. And then the next one is they reviewed the elements of 2023 Art Summit, especially about the schedule when they want to do it, and also about community reach out on the communication and also organization reach out. Next couple of items are about San Ramon Performing Arts attendance report shared by staff and upcoming cultural art events. Please visit our website. There are a lot of art events, amazing art events going on in the city. And then on January 23rd, I attended TVTC update as a backup for Scott. So they shared project overview. The key emphasis was on vehicle miles travel reduction. So that's one of the key emphasis on there, and which includes module transportation. And also they shared about some action plans, which include public outreach, preparing ready for 2045 carbon net zero. So there will be another meeting in March, so we can provide any feedback or any change requests to that. So we can do that in the March. And on community side, I attended San Ramon Valley Diversity Coalition MLK Day event on January 16th at our City Hall Rotunda. It was amazing to see many of local elected officials came to attend that event. And also we recognized Gigi Crowder. She's executive director of NAMI Contra Costa. And also we recognized our SRPD chief Carlson for their quick response to recent hate crime that happened in In-N-Out restaurant, national news issue. So we recognized him for taking care of that. And the next one is I attended on Sunday 22nd at City Center Chinese New Year. Wish you all happy Lunar New Year. And there was a huge presentation of cultural music, dance, as well as they did share a lot of red envelopes. So it was fun. And then the upcoming events, I would like to share about San Ramon Historic Foundation Craft Fest, Saturday, January 28th at San Ramon Community Center from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. And then there is walkathon pathiyatra.org. They are doing walkathon on Sunday, January 29th. There are two starting points. One is at 7 a.m. at Central Park. The other one is going to be at 8:30 at Rancho Park. So there will be traditional lunch served at 11:30 a.m. at Rancho Park. By the way, I'll be at 8:30 at Rancho Park. If any of you are coming, please join me there. That's pretty much. Once again, wish you all a happy Chinese Lunar New Year. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Most of the things that I attended have been covered. The teen council meeting, the new council member mayor's orientation, the new Lunar New Year celebration. What a great event that was. Somebody said there was like almost 3,000 people there. I'm not sure exactly how you figure out the head count there, but it was a pretty good crowd. Great performances, just great to see everyone, and it really did reflect the great cultural diversity of our city. I'll add one thing on the teen council applications. I saw that the applications period has opened up and it will be active through the 15th of February. So for anyone parents or teens interested in getting their teens some good volunteer time, that's a great program. And you mentioned crab feed, you got Marshall Tucker coming up on the 29th. Yay. And then I'll just, final thing I would add is that tomorrow evening, we've got a joint Parks Commission and City Council meeting with Crow Canyon Gardens on the agenda for that one. And with that, we need to open up public comment.
Before we move on, we do have public comment on this item. Oh, they have lowered their hand. Oh, no, they've raised their hand. Call in user 2.
This, just to be clear, this is on the interim.
Yes.
City manager.
On
and council reports. Thank you. Go ahead.
City manager's comment, right?
Yeah.
Sorry. This is on the council members' comments, right?
Yes, that's correct. Go ahead.
Okay. So I just want to, first of all, it's really our good luck to have Councilmember Rubio's, presence representing our city. I was very happy to see you and Councilmember Armstrong present at the Teen Council meeting. However, as a parent and as an American who truly cherish our democracy, I would like to remind all the elected officials to please be very ginger when you interact with the teen councils, because right now they are sort of appointed by you guys already. They lack peer support because they're not elected. So please be very careful how you interact with them, that, the public might misconstrue you as weaponizing our young adults who can be easily indoctrinated or brainwashed to do your agenda, which, politicians, of course, have agendas, but where I find that can be fault finding is if you use our teams to do your bidding. I really despise that. Regarding water that was mentioned, I happen to know a little bit about the Salton Sea. It was initially created, yes, it's a man-made lake. It is not a natural lake. And that is why it is toxic right now, because there is no life water going in, nor is there any way for those toxic water to come out. Perhaps, going back to the teen council, that council member Rubio can share this phenomenon with our bright young people, and whoever may be aspired to become water professionals or, chemistry experts can perhaps research into this and come up with solutions where they can propose to you. Then the community can really see that the teen councils are independent and they can also own their responsibility of communal concerns instead of just taking directives from you guys like robots.
Please. Thank you. Please. Thank you.
Can I have time to wrap up? I can't see the time. It's really rude of you guys to cut me off.
Please wrap up.
Thank you. I would like to wrap up by also saying that Councilmember Rubio, please approach the Contra County supervisors. They're the ones who are draining 78% of fresh water. My hearts go out to all the farmers in Central Valley. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other speakers under item 11? Okay, at this time, we will open up public comment. This is for anyone who has not previously spoken under public comment. Item number 4. Please use the raise your hand feature on Zoom or dial *9 on your telephone. And when it's your turn to talk, you'll be called upon and remarks will be limited to 3 minutes per person. And again, while we encourage your comments, unfortunately, state law prevents the city council from discussing items that are not on their meeting agenda. However, we do take them seriously, and if appropriate, staff will follow up. At this time, I'd like to open up public comment again. Any members who have not spoken yet?
There are no hands raised. We have no public comment.
Okay, thank you. Then that brings us to the conclusion of our meeting. Thank you all for attending and thank you for the presentations and the comments. We are adjourned until the next